let's go straight into game 2 and see how Eanix can continue this path, or if Burrito can get back into the equation with some better picks and bans. They're going to take the first pick option here for themselves, I'm guessing. We saw support focus last game. Going to be the same story?
I would probably anticipate the same kind of support focus. It worked out really well for Eanix, especially because opting for that double warrior frontline really just made it so difficult for Burrito to try and find a Guardian to balance out their draft, because they were really lacking a lot of CC as well. It wasn't just that frontline and backline peel potential, but they just didn't really have a lot of CC, unlike Eanix.
Well, Burrito's adjusted and taken away Raven this time. They were a little bit worried about what Faeles could do in the jungle with that. And I guess when you pick up Jinten, Bellona, and a Raven, you're going to have a bad time there. Ganesh forcibly banned by Eanix there. I think we're going to expect that quite the majority of today, maybe the rest of the week until the patch comes through.
Most likely, if anything. I just wouldn't really want to deal with Ganesh if I was one of these SBL teams either. But I do like the decision to keep banning away this Fafnir as well. Fafnir just provides so much CC and peel potential for a team. Plus, you can just never go wrong with Coerce.
Well, never. You can escape for days as well as Fafnir when you think about it. You can get himself in a tricky situation and ult out, as can Bellona sometimes. And that's what Burrito have taken as first pick. It's another technically pick away from Eanix. They ban Raven, they take Bellona. However, Eanix are going to take Cernunnos for themselves. And,
I mean, what's wrong with that? There's absolutely nothing wrong with locking away. You can't go wrong with a Kern early on in the draft just because he's such a safe hunter. His escape procs so fast that it's very easy for you to get away from danger. And now Terra was also left available. This time around, Eanix didn't have to ban it, and Burrito opted for the Bellona, feeling as though that was the bigger threat from Eanix and wanting it for themselves. But having Osiris alongside of the Bellona is a fairly strong composition.
Well, Bellona and Osiris now together for Burrito. Eanix now back over to them. What are we expecting? Oh, sorry, it's not over to them at all. It's Burrito still got another pick here. We expecting mid lane maybe? Sol again?
I would like to see, well, it's going to be the Isis, and it does seem as though Burrito wants to look for that early game aggression for sure. This time around, they're going to have a lot of it available for them. But Eanix, I mean, we didn't see it last game from Burrito, and I would have liked to. Nemesis still on the table. It would be a strong pickup here. I'm not sure that Eanix feels as though it'll be a necessary one for themselves, but I wouldn't mind seeing Faeles running that.
It's a very good point. If you're going to go for a lot of tanks in the meta and you're going to be using Sunders all day, might as well get Nemesis for an additional Sunder, technically. But Eanix is going to go back to the Morrigan again. Not really surprised. Lawbster had a fantastic game on it, in my opinion, last game. He was being more of a nuisance, but got a lot of player damage out as well.
Not to mention that he's going to have a Terra, Osiris, Bellona to potentially look at, and an Isis as well. There's already so many gods picked that he could have just a lot of fun with and a lot of engagement and disengagement with. That I think that Morrigan is a strong acquisition for Eanix.
Susano Ares banned by Eanix. Camazot's from Burrito, and it's Burrito's last ban now coming through. We're expecting Nemesis here. No, it's going to be the Thor instead. I was expecting potentially a Nemesis like you were talking about, but it's going to be Thor.
I do like the Camazot's Thor bans, though. Faeles has proved himself to be a very proficient jungler on these two gods in particular. But that does leave open the Nemesis pick that we were kind of anticipating, and I do feel as though Burrito, if they weren't concerned before, they're definitely going to need to keep in mind that failing on this Nemesis is going to be a large issue, and Khepri, I think, was probably one of the best Guardians that they could have picked up to try and deal with this.
Yeah, definitely. Taking the Khepri will allow them to revive, mainly for DeathPanter in the mid lane, I think. He's going to get a lot of focus here playing this Isis. That is one of Isis's weak points, is how squishy she is overall, but she does bring a lot of control and damage to the team in the early stages.
A ton of survivability for the side of Burrito, and this time around they do have that front line that they've been looking for in that last game. So hopefully if Eanix try to gas pedal them down this time around, they should be able to combat that, considering the Bellona and Osiris and Khepri just provide so much of a safety harness for the Isis.
Very interesting to see Ducky going for these Guardians now in the solo lane, not actually going for the Osiris or the Bellona or the Raven, which we've seen the majority of the time, trying to technically mix it up a little bit, bringing the Guardians back, which are one of the best ones at kind of dealing with the early game aggression that can come out from these warriors.
Well, one thing I like about Ducky is that he's just so flexible because of his mechanical skill. In general, he's probably one of the few solo laners right now, I think, that can pick a warrior or a Guardian and still be just as effective on either. And Guardians probably provide a little bit more of that They provide a lot of team fighting
no.
capability.
Oh no, they spotted Faeles yet? Has Faeles spotted them? What's going on here? Why are they proxy farming and why has Faeles not spotted it just yet? He has now. And this is a trap gone wrong. Burrito did not expect to see the jungle on this left-hand side of the map. And now it's a 2v3 situation. Kespainify plugs in. His beads were used too. The body blocks are keeping him in place. Fusify is still being zoned away by Faeles into an awkward spot. And I tell you what, it's Lawbster dinner for the boys of Eanix at the start of this game. Burrito came in with a strategy here, Taco. And the bad news is the jungler started in a different spot and confused them.
It's completely been sniffed out by Eanix, and that is probably one of the worst things possible that could have happened for Burrito, especially since Funballer immediately defaulted to letting Faeles have that kill, because once you get a Nemesis online, it's just over.
Gives you the boost straight away if you think about it, because with 400 gold for that first blood, Faeles gets that, shares the experience of purple, gets the red on his own, and that seemed to have been the calling card of what they wanted to do here. Eanix was pressure the left-hand side of the map and not the right.
And I just think that that was wonderfully executed by Eanix. And Faeles, he was probably looking for that early gank, like you said, onto the dual lane, but being permitted an early first blood like that is going to make things so rough.
Panter's in trouble in the mid lane. He's looking for an escape route right now. Wind gusting back to the safety of his tier 2 tower, but he gets poked out pretty heavily. Now 4 members of Eanix can collapse on the red buff. Bit of a contest coming out from Burrito, though.
They shouldn't try to contest this, however, and it does seem as though Eanix were able to secure that red buff, and it'll be Faeles actually who's picking it up.
Don't think he intentionally wanted to pick up that red buff, but I think he just stepped on it. However, his speed is down. As we saw, Burrito did steal it on the right-hand side. Eanix off to a decent start, now looking towards the oracles as Dzoni's just going to go back to mid lane. Playing, one thing we've not mentioned yet is the Osiris jungle in this game. That's how busy the action's been. Osiris jungle, and we're all like, hey, let's look at what's going on in the dual lane straight away.
I was probably anticipating the Bellona jungle, but Osiris does have that same gas pedal kind of effect that you're looking for, especially on an aggressive jungler such as Dzoni. He wants to just try an all-in Lawbster and really just prevent Lawbster from having any breathing room, much like what we saw happen to DeathPanter in game number 1.
And you're actually talking about that breathing room now. Well, Eanix are trying to strangle that in the duo lane here, trying to slow down what Burrito can do. Although Burrito are going to re-engage in their jungle, secure this purple, I believe, before the likes of Eanix can turn up, or will he? It's going to go the way of Burrito just about, but now the wave clear once again in Eanix's favor, so Funballer and Big Man can look to pressure under the tower.
Kespainify hasn't fallen too far behind, though, all things considered. That's always a rough start whenever your support gives up first blood, because you're just kind of expected to lose the dual lane pressure. But I do think they've done an excellent job, and what really saved them was the fact that Funballer didn't elect to take that first blood.
And you can see how well Burrito have done here by looking at the goal difference between these two teams at the top of your screen. You can see it's only a little bit of marginal difference right now. If you think the first blood is worth 400 gold, well, Burrito have tried to even that out so far.
And I think a lot of that is also credited to the fact that Burrito immediately went to the solo lane buff side of Eanix just to try and siege away those buffs, considering that they knew Faeles was still hanging out on that other side.
Talking about solo lane side, look at where Dzoni is right now, looking to pick off the potential onto Ducky, but the bad news is he is a Terra to even get the ultimate off there. Did Ducky forced out of that at all? But they were looking to try and pressure him a little bit with Bellona coming back in. However, grouping on this right-hand side, looking for the speed buff.
And that's what they want every single time. Now that they have the buff timer on it, they just want to try and pressure out Eanix here. So they got pressure on their side of the map. Fusify is going to get ulted by Faeles though, and the gas pedal is on. They're trying to run him down, and he won't live for much longer.
No, he's already dead, and now next to the list of BigManTingz will trade out 1 for 1. Speed buff did go the way of Burrito here, as Lawbster secures a kill onto DeathPanter. Very squishy, but Lawbster's running for his life. He jukes out Sibi though. The clone was good enough to decoy him away. It's a different story for Faeles, or is he? Because he's one hit from death. The blood just, the Scourge missing, and the enhand coming out from Dzoni too. Faeles looking to hang around, this is so risky. Sibi's one hit, Ducky's one hit too. Dzoni under the tower looking to clean it up, and Sibi goes in a Lawbster as they were looking for it. Sibi gets 2 kills, BigManTingz back in as well. Dzoni versus Faeles, and one hit, Dzoni will survive.
And BigManTingz, he's
what is this game?
The creeps! The creeps secured that kill for BigManTingz. Sibi took the aggro because he went for the bludgeon to clear out those archers, and oh my god, he just killed himself.
So who won that? Did anybody win that, apart from the fans watching that crazy fight unfold?
According to the gold lead, the sheer 200 gold lead that Burrito have right now, technically Burrito won that
You're
engagement.
right. You called it. Look at it. 1550 gold absorbed in that. 985 for Eanix. And the experience just a little bit higher. An extra 1,000 experience out of the fight from Burrito. I guess a lot of that was down to the speed buff.
A lot of that came down to the speed buff, yes, and on top of that, also, I think it came down to who the kills were on. They managed to pick up the solo laner and Lawbster in that mid lane, both who are, they were fairly high level for this stage of the game, early game, you know, level 6 kills, and that's always a solid pickup.
Was that Eanix getting a little bit too aggressive? Because there was a lot of people on low health who could have got out of that fight, I felt, and then kept coming back in, looking to be cheeky and maybe turn a kill around when they've got like less than 10% health. Was that a little bit over-ambitious?
That was one of those circumstances where Ducky probably wished he was any other solo laner but Terra, because I think if he had been on a typical warrior, he would have very easily secured, if not one, both of those kills that were so low health around that T1 tower. And then Lawbster, because Ducky was still fighting, thought maybe I could sneak back in here and get the stun off with the Morrigan stun, and it's just so unfortunate all around.
Well, the bad news is obviously Sibi picks up 2 kills on that Bellona from the solo lane, and Bellona up against the Terra in the early game. You expect Bellona to dominate the lane matchup, put a lot more pressure on early, and you can see the net worth difference between the two. 4.3k there for Sibi. Meanwhile, completely different story for Ducky, who's a lot further down the list at 3.9. Oh, sorry. Just switch back so I can correct that. 3.8k, I should say, net worth.
Fortunately for Ducky, though, he is playing a Terra. His main goal here isn't necessarily to win the laning phase, but to just try and stalemate it out until the mid-late game stage, and he just wants to press 4. That's all he really needs to do. He just needs to press 4 when he sees his team trying to aggress.
So next time around, we see the speed buff invade coming out from Burrito. Do we expect to see the speed buff invade again this time around when it does respawn? Because that seems where all the action seems to be right now.
It would probably be a little bit riskier for them to try and re-engage. That team fight alone was just so close between Burrito and Eanix, and so I think that the later this progresses, the more difficult it's going to be for them to get away with securing that speed. And really, I think that they wouldn't have even been as successful as they were had Eanix not gotten a little bit greedy there.
I wonder if we're going to see a man fight between Funballer and Kespainify. And we will for a second until Kespainify eats that Bramble Blast and backs away. Here's that speed buff I was talking about. Dzoni starting it up. Fusify, they're under pressure, rooted in place. Lawbster spinning around the corner, looking towards Sibi. Finds the stun on Sibi and a nice bit of burst too, but Lawbster's the one in trouble now. No escape potential for him. Has to ult early, and now he's turning to Nemesis, but he's already dead because the Eagle's Ride from Sibi was perfect. Faeles is in trouble as well as DeathPanter collapses in on the Isis. Silence didn't hit Ducky there. Lord of the Afterlife from Dzoni will, however. They're going to try and pick up Ducky under the tower, but they've not tanky enough just yet to take more than 1 or 2 tower shots. 2 for row exchange, and Burrito once again steal the speed buff.
And that was just beautifully played by Burrito. I really thought that it'd be a lot more difficult for Eanix to, or for Burrito, excuse me, to secure that speed buff than what it actually was. But it seemed as though the ultimate from Faeles just was not enough quite yet to get the burst damage that they needed.
And look at what Burrito did there. Signs of an established team now. They get a fight on the right-hand side, find the speed buff, but not only that, they then transition to the left-hand side and steal away the red as well. Trying to deny as much experience, get as many objectives after the fight as possible. Funballer could be in a bit of trouble here, or is it Kespainify?
It's actually Funballer, because it's Fusify who's looking for the aggression. Only level 6 though, so he needs to be careful. Well, he just hit level 7, but Funballer, the way that Kern works with the passive, the closer they get, the more damage he does. So they need to be really careful about getting within melee range of Funballer.
Look at that crab. Look at that crab. I'm not going to ignore it. We can't ignore that crab the way it's moving right now. That's just because of the cancel, of the cripple cancel coming out from... No, not cripple cancel. It's just the abduct that's putting him in that animation. But he looks even more terrifying than ever now. He looks tastier.
I mean, he's certainly ready to go in. It's what it seems like, so.
Whenever possible. Right, and Elemental Harpies are down. Speed buff just spawns for Burrito again. And the big key is they're trying to deny as much experience in gold, I guess, to Faeles on this Nemesis, especially after he got that first blood taco.
The start that Faeles had was an excellent one, but I think they responded quite well to it. I think stripping Eanix of their jungle at the start of the game was probably the best decision that they could have made, because having control of those jungle timers just makes it it all the easier for Burrito to look for that 4-man grouping and just keep choking Faeles out of experience.
Interesting choice from Dzoni here on this jungle Osiris, something we don't see too often. Silver Branch Bow picked up. So he's looking for a little bit of an extra power spike, some attack speed, and some magical power reduction when he's hitting his targets.
He's looking entirely for Lawbster and Ducky. I don't think he cares at all about BigManTingz. BigManTingz has enough survivability on Sobek to get away from danger. So if he's just gas pedaling Ducky and Lawbster, more especially Lawbster, because Morrigan can have a fairly difficult time in trying to escape if you catch out her invis.
Yeah.
And so once that invis is gone, then you're kind of just hanging out.
Well, 3 for 3 mid lane now because BigManTingz joins the 3 on the Sobek. Burrito don't hang around for too long. They're going to immediately pressure into the jungle, looking towards the Gold Fury here. Kespainify tanking up for now. DeathPanter on the way. Ultimate available for him, and he will drop it immediately. Over a circle of protection, it will go down. Wasn't clean, though, Panther, because it was Dzoni who picked up the Gold Fury.
A little bit risky there, popping the Ice's ultimate when he did. DeathPanter not really playing it super safe. I mean, I think a Sobek Sickle Strike could have very easily stolen that away, so he does need to be more careful with his objective secure on that Ice's ultimate as the game progresses.
Yeah, it's something we can poke at and be like, well, that shouldn't have happened, but it's okay because he's still got it. It's one of those things where you're like, well, this wasn't clean, but at least it worked out.
And now it's just Funballer safely clearing out that dual lane side. I mean, with Eanix knowing that the Gold Fury is down, that does actually relieve a little bit of map pressure from them, because now they can definitely look to make the rotations over to the soul lane side of the map without worrying that the Gold Fury is going to be taken away, because they've already lost it.
You talk about those hunters a little bit more there from Itako, because the builds we're seeing just lately seem to be all following suit now. What is the superior hunter build, it seems, to the pro players?
Right now, they're just favoring this Boots into Iqbal, into Executioner, then Rage. Rage is such a high priority pickup right now because you get so much crit chance, and it's just such a solid item, and it's so cheap.
Hang on a second, because Dzoni in mid lane looking at Lawbster, who's going to escape for now. Not for a second, though, because Fusify turns up. Going to make sure he gets the beads out of Lawbster, too. Kespainify is on his way, and he may be looking for the ultimate if he can. Going to hold it for now, though. Allow Lawbster to base. 5 members grouped to Burrito in mid lane here, knowing Lawbster's going back. But they can't find any pressure in mid. They're turning towards the Portal Demon.
If Kespainify had found that Astral Arrow onto Lawbster, I think he would have definitely gone up into the ultimate. But now they're just looking for the Portal Demon secured. This time, however, the Ice's ultimate is good from DeathPanter. No issues whatsoever in securing.
And beautiful play from Fusify there on the Khepri. We didn't really speak about that, but Ducky was looking to try and potentially come in there and initiate with Eagle's Right to steal it away. But he abducted early to silence him out, deny the opportunity, and continue giving Burrito this lead. It's not a huge lead, though, Taco, but it is a lead.
It's enough of a lead to where Burrito can start to make a serious impact on the game and look for that snowball potential, similar to what we witnessed from Eanix in game number 1. Eanix took the opportunity after they lost that initial fight in the soul lane side, and they just ran away with it, sieging down the T1 and T2 towers, and then just progressing from there. So if Burrito can keep capitalizing off of the little mistakes from Eanix and the lack of rotations early on because of the fact that their composition is more oriented towards the mid-late game stage, Burrito can definitely run away with this one.
So going back a little bit to what you were saying about the counter builds and Rage being so dominant right now, why did we not see Rage picked up until after Iqbal and Executioner? Is it just because of power spikes? Because obviously getting the Rage earlier means you've got more chance of getting your crit stacks, right?
Well, you need the penetration and the power as well to compensate for the Rage. Otherwise, you're kind of just creating people for 70 a tick, and that's not very effective considering that you're facing off, especially against a Terra and a Sobek. You're not going to do much of anything.
Makes a lot of sense. You see Faeles turn up to the right-hand side, just looking for farm here, still behind a little bit to Dzoni in the jungle on the Osiris, level 12 to level 11. And those second relics, Taco, so important for the teams at this stage.
Especially since they're not going to be available on the side of Eanix for a little bit longer. I mean, Lawbster and Faeles are both level 11, but not having that second relic is still pretty hurtful.
Yeah, we'll see what they can end up doing as they're looking to pressure mid lane here, Burrito, using their man advantage. Faeles now turning up too, but with a full minion wave here, it's awkward for Eanix to really clear out this wave until Ducky turns up with the root combo and the walls to slow Burrito down. But this time round in the mid, Kespainify has joined the fray with the Rama, and this tower won't last too long. BigManTingz looking for the plug, will find Sibi. Sibi still tanking up, has to Eagles rally away, rooted in place by Ducky. The wild boar is on as Fusify's running away, but he got ulted as well. Eagles Rally from Lawbster on the Morrigan wasn't the greatest. It was a focus onto Dzoni, but Dzoni heals back up through the Undying Bracer. And now Burrito still battling with Eanix in mid. Nobody other than BigManTingz has fallen.
And that's the advantage that Dzoni has, picking up this Bracer and doing a level 12, but the fight isn't over quite yet. Faeles escapes from the grasp of Fusify, and now Burrito, they need to disengage here, trying to play it safe. Eanix are definitely still looking to fight back.
Yeah, both teams still looking to defend this tier, attack this tier 1 tower and defend it. Burrito know it's within their grasp of bringing it down, opening the map up a little bit more and getting a little bit extra gold into their coffers.
And Gold Fury is actually on the cusp of respawning, so Burrito have enough time, I believe, to spend the gold that they just acquired from that T1 tower and the engagement, and then look to re-engage onto that Gold Fury. So I can anticipate another fight happening very soon, except I would say that Burrito do need to be careful because look at their relics in comparison to Eanix.
Sure, I mean, the relics fight in the mid lane worked out well for them. They get the tier 1 tower, they get the kill on BigManTingz. But maybe they need to just slow it down for a minute or two now, especially with the level 12s being hit by Eanix and the first relic still being available for most of them. The Gold Fury is definitely an issue, and I think if they get those oracles on this left-hand side, if they get both of these, they should be okay to hold on for now.
Funballer's trying to contest, but don't think he's going to have the means to. 3 members strong at the Oracles just means free ward vision for Burrito.
Is this really surprising though to see Burrito up at the moment, like 2,000 or 3,000, especially when you think Eanix split with Obey last week? Is this just how tight Europe is?
I'd say it's very surprising, and I would also say that a large portion of this is due to Burrito just drafting so well in game number 2. They saw what went wrong clearly in game number 1 where they had that lack of CC, and this time they're just like, no, we're going to be the ones running the massive amounts of CC with the Osiris, the Bellona, and just, I think it's the Khepri, really. Even though Fusify fell so early on, Khepri is just so annoying to deal with.
And look at that now, trying to root and zone away with the support of Sibi. Circle protection down. Gold Fury does go down the way of Burrito. DeathPanter credited for the kill there, but Faeles was looking to swing around onto Panther, taking him out of the fight. Fusify has to revive himself in the fight as he continues. Dzoni on the forefront, going in with the Lord of the Afterlife, but Sibi's very low.
And Lawbster, he's transitioned into the Morrigan ult with the Bellona. He's running down everybody on the side of Burrito. The Khepri ult's already been used, and now Dzoni, he's by himself, just completely shredded, and that is the issue that Burrito has encountered, expending everything to secure that Gold Fury.
And they get the Gold Fury, but they're gonna lose a team fight, lose 3 members of the team and a tier 1 tower on the left-hand side here. So once this tier 1 tower goes down, the gold is about the same, I'd say, as what happened before the Gold Fury fight.
That's a T2.
But they can look at the tier 2.
It's a T2 every single time. They have the Terra available on the side of Eanix, and that sustain is going to be more than enough for Funballer, especially with the creep wave there. That's free. That gold lead, that Gold Fury makes no impact now for Burrito.
We're even, and the Portal Demon is available for either team to look towards the Fire Giant too. We saw the Fire Giant last game from Eanix, came around 18-19 minutes. This time it could be another potential thing for either team to look for if they win a team fight.
I was just saying how the Khepri has been making a huge impact into this game for Burrito, and that's because Fusify has been using his ultimate on his teammates, getting them out of danger and allowing them to back and come back in. But when he expends it on himself, that just completely opens him up.
No ultimates here for Burrito to contest with BigManTingz lurking in the waters, trying to force the reset. Portal Demon still low, still aggroed. Portal Demon goes down, Burrito secure it. Ducky though on the left-hand side going in on DeathPanter, who's under pressure, forced to beads away. The Wild Hunt is on, and the Piggy's going to get the Aegis out of Panther too. BigManTingz taking the brunt of damage for Eanix here, falls back to the rest of his squad. And at the moment, Burrito on top, and so Ducky finds a 3-man route.
And it doesn't look like Faeles is looking to slow down at all, but he's got Dzoni chasing him, and Fusify popping the sprint. They want to run him down, and they do. Faeles has fallen already, and they're not looking to stop the chase anytime soon.
Well, it looks like they will now as they do get back to the tier 2, and Burrito realize that if they try and go for kills here, they won't find many, especially with the Portal Demon being up for the respawns to come through for Eanix. So they'll take the win of the tier 1 tower and maybe look at the tier 2.
This is just so back and forth from both of these squads, and well played to both sides, just capitalizing on the smallest of mistakes from either or.
Fusify tanking it for the team, but Lawbster around the corner stuns too. DeathPanter predominantly takes most of the damage as Lawbster goes in with the Eagles rally as well. Falls back towards the team as Sibi does get out of danger thanks to the ultimate from Fusify, but it's Kespainify and Dzoni on the front line that are in a lot of trouble. Dzoni using the bracer on doing it himself to revive a little bit more of that health back, but look at the health bars of Eanix, a lot healthier, a lot stronger, and Lawbster's closing the gap again.
And Ducky had the perfect route onto 3 members on Burrito. Just makes it so easy for his team to follow up. The Wild Hunt is good. Sibi's trying to get away now from Ducky and the likes of Eanix, but there's just nowhere to go. They want to keep this chase going.
And who's going to attack up the tower is the question. BigManTingz will get the aggro. Lawbster picked up Sibi already. Kespainify next in the list is Faeles. Now rotates him through the jungle. Can't find the pick he was looking for, but when Kespainify lands, if Kespainify lands, he's going to fall down to Funballer. The tier 1 tower on the right now exposed for Eanix to look to take.
Not to mention that DeathPanter just used his ultimate to try and give Kespainify a little bit of a burst heal for him to potentially roll out of that situation, but just nowhere left to go except Eanix entirely in favor now. Burrito should have just backed off after securing that T1 tower. They should have healed. They had the Portal Demon.
Yeah, you're right.
They had the heal off of the Portal Demon. They could have aggressed onto the Fire Giant, if anything, after that engagement.
Wow.
But now they've overextended a little bit too long. Eanix not looking to make the same mistake that Burrito did, though, and just backing off the Fire Giant.
Yeah, they were looking at the Fire Giant for a second, and like, that could be a little bit risky after investing so much in the last engagement. There was a man advantage still with Kespainify being dead, but for now, it'll be a reset, and the goal difference is nothing. It's literally nothing between these two teams.
And where that went wrong for Eanix initially was after they lost the Portal Demon, their ultimate emphasis was placed onto different targets. You saw Faeles ulting the Isis and then trying to disengage off of that because DeathPanter had his beads available. He had the safety of his team to fall back on. And Eanix just, it seemed like their target focus got a little bit miscommunicated in that fight. And so because of it, Burrito were able to just pick them off one by one and chase them down that solo lane side. But like I said, they just stayed around a little bit too long without backing.
And I think that's the thing with Burrito. When you look at it, look at the player damage, and you can see that Burrito, they've been not high on the blade damage. You know, 3 members at 8k or less, sorry, less than 8k in a row. 4 members at less than 8k in a row. But what they are doing is they're focusing their targets well. Their 8 kills have actually got them results of objectives, but maybe they just continue to bite off too much more than they can chew. Where Eanix, they're getting a lot of damage off in this game, a couple more kills, and finding their way back into it because of that.
It's that excitement aspect. Once you start seeing yourself winning a little bit, especially against a team as highly regarded as Eanix, you're just like, okay, we can do this, we can keep going. And it's just a little bit more than what they should be looking for. And a lot of that, I think, can just be sorted out with more experience.
Well, Gold Fury fighters on Sibi leading the way. Dzoni on the right-hand side contesting against Lawbster, who's got to be very careful because the Burrito were looking to collapse onto him as he was alone. The rest of his team around the left-hand side. But pressure relieved for a second. Dzoni a little bit too far forward here in the jungle, though. Fight still raging on as the walls hit Kespainify. The Fusify is the one in trouble, being focused down by the team. Ultimate maybe needed on himself, and he will do so just in time. Kespainify still trying to support his teammate, but meanwhile, Sibi's now dived onto Funballer. He's taking a brunt of damage. Dzoni did find Lawbster in the mid lane, though. Different story for DeathPanter, who's being run down by Faeles in the mid too, but Funballer will finally secure Sibi as Faeles is taking on the world of Burrito.
And Faeles is not going to be able to secure it. 1v4, just never in your favor. Unfortunately for Faeles, he was trying to back Lawbster up, but after Lawbster fell, there's just nowhere for him to go. Surrounded by Burrito, GG.
A Gold Fury attempt potentially for Burrito here, but BigManTingz missed a block. They're looking to pull him in with the abduct. Nice route from Ducky to slow this down. Fusify ate so much free damage from Funballer that it's Tingz that survives and the other support that falls down. Kespainify has to roll away as Ducky looking to juke out and give chase. BigManTingz wanted Dzoni on this left-hand side. His teammates chose the other option of the squishies instead. So we get a 3-man dance from each team where no one really has an advantage.
Tingz with a tactical mispluck distraction. And
tactical. Good save there, Taco.
It was really well. It was excellently executed by Eanix to follow up on their teammates' mispluck, because had BigMan just been left alone there, he probably would have very likely died. But because Funballer just immediately starts wailing into Fusify, and then they realize, well, this Khepri actually isn't very tanky facing off against our Hunter.
I will say, Taco, this is still a very even game. The only real standout difference in this game so far is the level difference between Funballer and everybody else in this game.
Funballer level 19. He finds that farm. He has just been quietly but happily farming away in the lane, not to mention that he's 4-0-5. He's been a part of 9 kills out of the 12, and that just goes to show that the rotations that he has made have been very impactful.
Now, he's not gone for the crit build that we were talking about a little bit earlier on. Kespainify has, but he's gone for the chins and now picked up a crusher as well. Why we see the crusher so much, Taco?
Oof. Rough ultimate by Kespainify.
Was he looking for the steal?
He was looking for the steal. Very, very smart recognition by Eanix. But going back to what you were saying, I do think that he opted for this pen build and the chins because of the draft that Burrito are running.
Sure, just so many frontline tanks that you want to shred through it. Okay. Well, back to the Gold Fury fight we go again. Dzoni plucked in towards Faeles and towards Ducky. Ducky rooting out the rest of the team as much as possible. Dzoni on the front line has been ulted, but then he's not going to fall down in time as Lawbster comes in with the Eagles rally on that Bellona they turn into from Morrigan. Dzoni's still alive. Fails it. A chunk of damage from the circle of protection coming out, but Funballer will finally pick up Sibi. The crits from Kespainify making light work of the front line of Eanix, but Eanix haven't given up yet. With the man advantage, they're still looking towards the Gold Fury.
Faeles just lost his entire health bar to that fully charged Isis ultimate. However, it's still going to allow Eanix to secure the Gold Fury. Burrito don't want to try and engage into that being a member down already.
Lawbster a little bit too far forward. They're looking for aggression. If you could find the CC chain, Ducky and BigManTingz were there to back up. DeathPanter in the mid lane, though, maybe getting dived here with Funballer in tow. Faeles can't take too many more shots, and now with Dzoni back, it could be awkward. Still looking for the stun. He'll find it. The walls come crushing down, but the bead saves his life from Ducky stunning him in place. Dzoni still trading off with Lawbster, though, and Lawbster's tanking the tower. He won't be wanting to do that, but he will get back to safety. Maybe a different story for BigManTingz, though, as he's still under pressure, but Funballer brings down Dzoni, and Eanix escape with all their lives.
Plus, Funballer was full health. He took the tower aggro no problem and picked up the kill. That was excellently traded out by Eanix, consistently shifting around that tower aggro.
This is non-stop. We've basically had a killer minute so far this game, and I still couldn't tell you who's going to win it based off how this game's gone. One team fight, Taco, could spell like demise because the fire giant's available, the respawns are getting longer, and as you can see, because of that, Burrito are trying to 4v5 a fire giant. I'm not sure about this one, boys.
They've got the shred potential for it. They're looking to just pick off Funballer now, but it's Sibi who's going to be plugged into the entirety of Eanix. No Khepri ultimate to come and save him.
Kespainify in trouble now with the lurk in the walls, chasing him down for BigManTingz. The walls will force the beads out of Kespainify. Circle of protection from DeathPanter to heal up his team a little bit more, but the Lawbster, the crustacean, is down again as Faeles will pick up the kill onto Fusify, and now it's Burrito going for a 4v5 fire giant. That Taco. 2
deaths that just happened so quickly that Fusify couldn't get his ultimate off on either of them, but now losing 2 members and 2 frontline members of that for Burrito, it's going to be incredibly difficult for them to try and contest this, and DeathPanter doesn't even have his ultimate available. They can't get in there.
Nope,
Eanix shredded it.
So fire giant goes to Eanix, and now the tower shredding will probably begin. Only towers remaining in the mid lane and the right hand side. The left hand tier 1 and tier 2 died earlier on in this game, but I think Burrito will probably have to give up the tier 1s at least, Taco. Do they look to defend tier 2s though, is my question.
Defending tier 2s is still going to be way too rough, I think, for Burrito. I would rather see them just fall back to their Phoenixes. Well,
it looks like they're trying to defend in the mid lane right now because they realize Lawbster was on the right-hand side. BigManTingz is going to get rooted in place, but dash away. Lawbster hanging around the corner here. Cheeky Morrigan. You know he'll be stealthing away any second, as you can see, looking to rotate in and find a stun that could turn a full combo onto somebody, especially because the stun into the plucks, into every single form of CC that Eanix have at their disposal.
This is dangerous. Kespainify just backed, which means that they're not going to have a ton of chunk potential coming for Burrito. And now the chase is on. Ducky's already looking to go in. He got the root down. Now he's looking for the clap, but they're still just hovering around this T2 tower.
No one's really looking for the clap deep down. Tier 2 tower is at half health right now. Sibi plucked into danger by BigManTingz. The ball hit everybody. Funballer made it a wild hog ride going on for everybody. Sibi, Eagles rallies to safety, still giving chases fails. Dzoni and Fusify, the frontline tanks of Burrito, are being shredded down piece by piece, and eventually they get to the backline as Dzoni forced out. The tier 2 will fall, and Eanix win another engagement as Burrito, they did their best to try and defend that tier 2.
I can't believe that Dzoni even managed to get away there, and DeathPanter, Ducky, catching him with the clap. He's going to get out and back to safety of his Fountain, but for how much longer? That's the real question. Eanix are just completely strangling Burrito of any signs of life.
And if we can just go to the graphs and see the golden experience lead here, with the gold differential between these two teams, this has only grown over the last couple of minutes, this gold lead that Eanix have got.
And that's just completely credited to how experienced this team is overall. Burrito put up an excellent fight. Like, non-stop aggressing into Eanix, I think, was the right direction, but it was just a couple of instances where they let that over-aggression get the better end of them because they should have just forfeited looking for objectives as early as they did, for instance, the T2 tower. Sure. I think that's really where it all started to kind of come crumbling down for Burrito. They just stayed a little bit too long.
I'll agree.
And it fell apart.
I think Burrito's tier 2 aggression hurt them, but I don't think they were out of the game at that point. I think that 5v4 fire giant, though, once that fight went wrong is the moment where this lead really became established, because up to that point, even though they messed up at tier 2, they were still in this game, Taco.
It's just incredibly rough, really, to pinpoint it all. I would say that
there's multiple times.
Yeah, because like even then at the T2, they probably could have held that.
That's true.
It's just that once Kespainify backed the base, that was where they needed to just fall back. They wouldn't have lost their Phoenix if they just fell back to the Phoenix.
I like what Burrito were trying to do here. They were trying to find a little pick in the jungle if they could. Maybe find someone from Eanix a little bit deep on their own, try to ward out. But unfortunately, not going to be available for them as Eanix was sticking together as a squad. Pretty tight-knit there. Fire Giant buff still on their side for a few moments longer.
The real issue here as well is that Funballer, have you noticed where he's been dropping his ultimate? On top of that Isis ult almost every single time. And so he's getting 4 or 5 men wild hunts off, and the whole team just turned into boars.
28 kills in this game so far at 29 minutes in. There's no towers remaining for Burrito to defend, but there is still 2 Phoenixes, and so the pressure will be on the mid lane from the fire minions pouring in, and the left-hand side from Eanix pouring in themselves.
They want to secure this Phoenix that's furthest away from the Fire Giant, just in case Burrito are able to defend and Eanix aren't able to close it out.
Just waiting patiently here, Eanix now. Just waiting for minions to turn up for themselves and from the mid lane. Pressure from both sets of minions means Ducky will dive in. BigManTingz took initial aggro, just looking to poke them down a little bit, see if they can get some beads, get somebody slightly out of position, or force Burrito to commit at the worst possible time.
And this is such an awkward spot for Burrito to be in, because at any point in time, Eanix could just immediately look to rush into that Phoenix.
Fusify under pressure there for a second. He has Stone of Gaia, so if he does get attemptedly pulled by BigManTingz, he would get away from it. Beats used by Kespainify there after the pluck. Eagles Rally used defensively by Sibi. Eanix may fall back and wait for the protections to wear off from the Eagles Rally. Wait for the next minion wave to come in and slowly just keep chipping away at the health bars of Burrito.
And this is all that Eanix have to do. They can keep applying the slow and steady pressure, because Burrito, they expended the Isis ultimate and the Bellona ultimate, 2 of their biggest defensive ults already having to be used, and Eanix aren't looking to slow down.
New minion wave coming in from mid lane of fire minions again, as once again on the left-hand side, Eanix just hanging around, waiting for the minions, poking them down. In goes Ducky again. Great pluck from Fusify, deny the pluck onto Ducky, but it's a different story in the sky as Lawbster turned into Rama to 5 shots at Rama. So Rama went to the sky to 5 shots back at the other Rama who's in the sky. Craziness! Still the Phoenix stands though, and Eanix are holding firm on this left-hand side. The bad news is the Fire Giants respawned. They should probably head there. Burrito do what they needed to here, Taco. They defend their left-hand Phoenix, and the middle Phoenix is about to respawn as well. Great work from the lower seeded team.
And that defense by Burrito it just makes me even more convinced that had Burrito just fallen back from that T2 tower once Kespainify back, they could have very easily held their mid lane Phoenix. Sieging into the composition that Burrito has drafted is still incredibly difficult. They just have so much tankiness.
Well, this is a chance for Burrito to actually get a leg hold back in this game. They're sieging around the Fire Giant now. They don't have any wards in inventory, which is a bit unfortunate for them. They don't have many on the map either. But maybe just giving this up might be the wiser idea, or should they be contesting this?
They just need to be more aware of where Funballer is at all times. Like, Funballer can't be left unchecked, because Funballer, I think, has been the biggest determining factor for how these fights are going to go. Well,
Portal Demon's up soon too, and Eanix have the ward coverage down at Fire Giant once more. Burrito no wards in inventory, as I mentioned a little bit earlier on. Fire Giant already below 10% health, and it will go the way of Eanix before Burrito turn up. And now Burrito are overextended and in trouble. Johnny's very low. Eagles rally from Sibi in places. Johnny's still running for his life as a pig. Talking about pigs, Kespainify has already died as one, and now Osiris will fall from the jungle too. Funballer credited with 2 quick kills. DeathPanter running for his life on the right-hand side against Lawbster and Faeles. But the bad news is BigManTingz wrapping around the back means there's still trouble for the members of Burrito.
And they don't even care about Fusify or Sibi. They're looking for the members that have no escape potential. And Funballer, though, he's looking for Sibi, and he found him. He's just chunking away in him. The Fatale is putting in work, and now it's going to be Fusify next on the menu, completely served up. Nowhere to go, and this Titan is just as toast as the entirety of Burrito.
And Taco, that Fire Giant fight there, you saw Burrito were trying to hang around to contest it. They had a window back in after the defense, but hanging around near the Fire Giant, not contesting well enough, giving it to Eanix for free, spelled their demise at the end of the day.
Took them a little bit too long to make that decision whether or not they wanted to go in and contest the Fire Giant. And then on top of that, once they did, we saw it. It was way too late and just completely out of position was the whole roster of Burrito.
So looking at Burrito and their performance today, Taco, where do we expect them to finish? Have you had any adjustments, any changes maybe in personality, expectation, I guess, of what those guys are going to do?
The thing is that as excellent as Burrito's performance was, I can kind of see this happening from almost any of the teams in EU right now. So it'd be really hard to determine where to place them exactly.
Well, it's crazy over in Europe right now. That's only set 1 of today. We've still got 3 more sets to bring you. We'll be back after the break. Have a look at some of these replays from that set. Ooh.